Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and I am your host. Now, the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, all in ways that I enjoy it. But that also means I have to talk about the parts of it that get to me, and that's what we're starting with today. You may realize that my release schedule for the podcast is varied, and there's a perfectly good reason for that. I don't have time. Let me expand on that a little bit. I make no money doing this. Zero. Zilch. Zada. Nothing. I still work my full-time job on top of this. And I still have to have time to take care of other personal stuff. So sometimes recording has to get pushed. And then pushed again, and again, and again. Till I finally have a chance to record. Now, on top of this, I live in a house with several other people, 2 cats, and 2 dogs. So I can't just record whenever. So Saturdays might be a good day to record if everyone leaves. Or if they're going to be quiet for an hour and let me just talk. But that's rarely the case. So I've recorded podcasts at 2:30 in the morning before. I've recorded podcasts literally a few minutes before I went to sleep some nights. It just... I don't have a schedule for the podcast for that reason. I can't say it's going to be up on this day or that day because I don't know. 9 times out of 10, it just kind of gets up whenever I have a free minute. Like even today, I finally sat down. I've been up since 4 o'clock. It's currently 1:32 in the afternoon. But I finally have the house to myself. The real kick in the teeth is that I started a Patreon several weeks ago. I've plugged it in my podcast. I've plugged it on Twitter. And it really, really drives home the fact that, man, people just don't like me. Which I understand, because I don't like me either. But I'm not going to stop. I am going to keep going. I am not going to quit. Even if my schedule is super erratic. And that goes with live streaming too. I started doing that, but I can't set a schedule. I can't say, yeah, I'm going to be live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I just can't. I can't do that. There are days when I get home from work and I'm like, man, I should just load up and stream for an hour. And I just don't have the energy. Don't get me wrong. I love my job. It's a great job. But there are days when I'll come home and I am just so exhausted. Physically and mentally. Still much better than my last job. That job left me physically, mentally, and emotionally drained. That's a story for another time. I guess all I'm really trying to say is, even if I'm not going to get the help that I feel like I need, I'm still standing. And ain't nobody going to make me fall down. Not even myself. But now that I have that little tangent out of the way, I'm going to kick you to our mid-roll ads. And then we're going to talk about something that's actually a little more fun.
Hi. If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me tell you some of the reasons why I started using it. For one, it's free. There's no subscription fee. You don't have to pay for anything. Second, it gives you all of the editing software you need for everything you're going to do. Beyond that, it helps distribute your podcast to so many different places, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. It's amazing. Not only that, but they offer to sponsor you. Right there. That's it. Just by recording podcasts, they will pay you based on the number of listens it gets. It brings everything you need into one place. And if you want to try it out, you can download their app, or you can go to anchor.fm to get started. Now back to the episode.
And welcome back. Now, as promised, we're going to talk about something a little different. How often do you change up a deck? And when you do you change out 1 card, 2, 5? I'm wondering because the other day I was looking at my Niv Mizzet Reborn deck, which is a fun deck to play, but I got hit with this idea. And this idea would change the deck what I would call fairly drastically. Why, you ask? Because it changed out 21 cards. Now, anybody that's been listening for a while knows that my Niv Mizzet deck is companioned by Jegantha the Wellspring, and is a restrictions deck. The restrictions being, well, to have Jegantha, I can't have repeating pips and mana costs, and for a 5-color deck, I do not run fetch lands, and all of the creatures have to be legendary, and everything except for the artifacts have to be able to be hit by Niv Mizzet's trigger. And I was looking at Strixhaven stuff, and as anybody who's been listening knows, it hasn't really been doing it for me. It hasn't really scratched the itch. But I got to thinking. There are 5 2-color Elder Dragons in this set. They're all 2 colors, they're all legendary, and they're all dragons. So I want them for Niv Mizzet. But then I got thinking, well, there's 5 other Elder Dragons that are 2 colors from Dragons of Tarkir. And that led me to the 5 before they were Elder Dragons. Still legendary creatures and dragons. So, right there, that's 15 dragons I wanted to put in. And there was a couple other things in the deck that I just wasn't super happy with that I wanted to add. And it kind of just broke down into, what do I have that I just want to throw in there? And I ended up adding 3 more Planeswalkers. I have Ajani Unyielding, which is the 4 green white for the 4 loyalty Ajani. Now, the main reason I wanted to add him is his +2 is going to be another way to get stuff into our hands. And he can hit all non-land permanents, not just the stuff like Niv Mizzet can hit. So if I'm really jonesing for a mana rock, I can hit it with him. I also put Ajani, Mentor of Heroes, in here, which is the 3 green-white 4 loyalty Ajani. And the main reason I put him in here is his +1 that lets you look at the top 4 cards to reveal either an aura, a creature, or a planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Again, legendary creature deck. There are a couple more planeswalkers in here. And his distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control isn't that bad either. I also added Huatli Radiant Champion, which is the 2 green-white, 3 loyalty Huatli. Her +1 that you put a loyalty counter on her for each creature you control. And then her -1 is target creature you control gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control, which is the main reason I put it in here, for when I want to one-shot somebody with Niv-Mizzet. But her -8 is also when you cast a creature, you draw a card. Or is it when it enters? Either way. It's in Japanese, so I can't tell you exactly. Now, I knew I was going to be adding dragons. And dragons meant more mana intensive. A lot more mana intensive. So, I wanted to make sure that I put Krufix God of Horizons in the deck. 3, a green and a blue for a 4/7 indestructible. You need a devotion of 7 in green and blue, or it's not a creature. But you have no maximum hand size, which already helps with Niv, because the number of times I've had to discard when I put 6 or 7 cards in my hand. And also, if you would lose the unspent mana, that mana becomes colorless, means I can use that towards the generic costs. And it gets around the Gigantha restriction of only being able to use the colored mana pips that Gigantha produces on colored mana. If I let it fade away, it just turns colorless instead, and then I can use it towards generic costs. And next to help in this, we have Svella Ice Shaper. 1, a red and a green, Troll Warrior, 2/4. You can pay 3 and tap it to make an Icy Manolith, which taps to add a mana, and you can pay 6, red and a green, and tap it to look at the top 4 cards of your library and cast a spell among them without paying its mana cost, and put the rest on the bottom. So this is kind of twofold. It's going to pump out more mana rocks, and you never know, you might get cheeky and put a 7-drop dragon into play off of it. You never know. But now, let's talk about dragons, or as they're known in my playgroup, Dargons. And again, we'll start with the newer ones. I still have to pick up the Witherbloom and the Quandrix Dragon, but I do have the Prismari, the Silver Quill, and the Lorehold Dragon. Starting with Prismari, he's 2, a blue and a red. He is a 3/4. When he enters, you make a treasure. And he says that artifacts you control can tap to add a color of one color of whatever. Is this deck going to synergize highly with this? No, it's not. But I don't care. And then the Silver Quill Dragon is 3, a white and a blue, or a white and a black, sorry, for a 2/5. It's the one that has the, when it attacks, you choose 2, and they have to target different players. One is put a counter on a creature, one is lose a life, draw a card, and I forget what the third one is. And then we have the Lorehold Dragon, which is 5, a red and a white for a 5/5. He... Man, just the ability to, when you hit, start digging for stuff. It's a lot of fun. But now on to the ones that I actually know fairly well. Starting with Atarka, the Worldrender. 5, red-green, flying trample. This is going to kind of be our secret commander in the deck. It's a 6/4 that says whenever a dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. And much like its brethren from the Fate Reforged cycle, they each do something when a dragon attacks. So these will stack. And the next one up, we have Colligan, the Storm's Fury. 3, a black and a red for a 4/5 with flying, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. You could also dash this out for its mana cost. That means you put it into play it gains haste, and you return it to the battlefield under its owner's control to begin the next end step, for what it's worth. Then we have Dromoka the Eternal. 3 green and a white for a 5/5, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, you bolster 2. And what that means is you choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control, and you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. If you have a bunch of dragons, they just become big dragons. Then we have Ogitai, Soul of Winter. 5, a white and a blue for a 5/6 with Flying and Vigilance. And whenever a dragon you control attacks, you can tap a non-land permanent. Opponent controls that permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step, so you can just start removing people's blockers. It's pretty good. Then we have Silumgar, the Drifting Death, which is the mean one, I guess you would say. 4, a blue and a black for a 3/7 with Hexproof and flying. Whenever a dragon you control attacks defending player, defending player controls gets -1/-1 till end of turn. So if you attack with 5 dragons, there's not going to be a whole lot left. And then we have their slightly older counterparts, starting with Dragonlord Atarka. 5, a red and a green for an 8/8 Elder Dragon. Flying Trample. When Dragonlord Atarka enters the battlefield, that deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control. And I know some people just don't like Dragonlord Kolaghan because, well, it's a 4, a black, and a red for an Elder Dragon. It's a 6/5 with flying and haste. And other creatures you control have haste. Then its last ability. Whenever an opponent casts a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name as a card in his or her graveyard, that player loses 10 life. A lot of people get hung up on that last ability. And understandably, it doesn't work great in Commander unless you're playing against somebody playing Shadowborn Apostles or Relentless Rats or anything like that. But a 6/5 with flying and haste, and other creatures you control have haste. Just look at those stat lines. It's worth running for those stat lines alone. Then we have Dragonlord Dromoka. 4, a green and a white for a 5/7. It can't be countered, it has flying and lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Which, as any control player knows, is a great thing. Then we have Dragonlord Ogitai. 3, a white and a blue. He's a 5/4 with flying. He has hexproof as long as it's untapped. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, you put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library, in any order. And finally, we have Dragonlord Silumgar. A 4, a blue, and a black for a 3/5 Elder Dragon with flying and Death Touch. When he enters the battlefield, you gain control of target creature or planeswalker as long as you control Dragonlord Silumgar. Dargons. Lots and lots of Dargons. Is it gonna be a great deck? Probably not. It's very mana hungry. I took a stupid deck that was already doing stupid things, and I'm gonna make it do more stupid things. Then again, I guess that's kind of my MO, isn't it? Well, I think that's gonna do it for today. Once again, I did start a Patreon. The links will be in the bio. If you're watching this on YouTube, consider subscribing, hit the like button, bell for notifications. And I guess I will see you next time. That brings us to the end of the podcast. I would like to thank Nate and Erica Jacobs for designing my logo, and Cody Mulpey and Ian Foss for allowing me to use a sample of music from their band, The Crypt. The podcast can be found on YouTube by searching Commander's Forge. The podcast is Commander's Forge, that is CMDR_Forge on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at BentzMr, that is BENTZMR. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, here's to fun games and sick plays.